Now, every now and then, I make a video about a certain topic that I actually don't like, disagree with, and don't recommend. And this is basically it. Car leases. I don't like them because they're very expensive. You walk away in the end with absolutely nothing. And the big benefit is I get to ride around in a new car, but guess what? In the end, you don't actually own anything when you could have bought a used car and be just fine. Now, there are several ways to actually use this video, and the reason I make it is for educational purposes because I want you to know how to get out of things even once you get into things that I basically don't recommend, because we all make mistakes in a way, and if you're lucky you could walk away from a car lease with cash in your pocket. But I'm not making this video so you intentionally try to walk away with cash in your pocket and you get yourself in a terrible deal. I want to make that very clear. So in this video I'm going to give you 3 ways to actually get yourself out of a lease without paying any money, basically, like actually cost you any money per se. And on top of that, you might even be able to walk away with a profit. However, keep in mind that I don't recommend this, okay? Just want to be clear on that, okay? Now, the first way to actually do this is going to be cash out the lease, buy the car, and then sell the car, okay? So whenever you have a lease and you want to terminate it, there will be a fee. There's also a residual value for the car, which you can actually pay to actually buy the car once the lease is basically over. So the idea is you want to basically pay the fees, buy the car, and then sell the car for a profit. And you're probably thinking, Tommy, you know, cars, they usually tend to go down in value. That is very true, but sometimes they tend to go up in value. And we saw that during the pandemic when used cars basically went up because the used car market was basically so constricted. Now, overall, this basically means, let's use an example here. Let's say you have left on your lease around 12 months, and the buyout fee for your lease is about $3,600. And on top of that, the residual value for the car, which is a RAV4 by the way, is about $15,000. So altogether with the fees and the residual value of the car, you're all in for about $18,600, okay? Now that basically means if the car can be sold for $20,000, $25,000, well, you can basically get your money back plus some profit. That is the idea. Now, would I find myself ever actually utilizing this? The answer is absolutely. If I see myself like, hey, I got a car lease, and then I find out it's one of the most expensive ways to actually own a vehicle, or I mean drive a vehicle, you can actually own anything, right? And I want to get out of it. I don't know how to do it, but the car actually is worth a little bit more. I would actually go ahead and sell the car, do that whole process to basically get out the lease and then buy a used vehicle. But keep in mind, okay, when used car prices are basically up to the point where you can actually do this technique, guess what? To actually buy a car is gonna cost you a little bit more money while the market actually cools down. So meaning, if you're gonna get a profit on a used car by doing this whole lease scenario, well, when you actually go into the market to buy a used vehicle, they're probably gonna be more expensive too because it's all based on the market. Now, way number 2 to actually make money off your lease is going to be to sell your lease to a third party directly, okay? Like CarMax and other companies, okay? If you can go right now on Google and type in sell my lease to car companies, and you will find a few that actually do it. Now, I will say this, that some companies that actually finance the vehicles for you, you know, they will not allow you to actually do this. They put restrictions, okay? I think Ford was one of them, but Audi doesn't have any of these restrictions. So the idea is find out who and find out if you can actually sell your lease to a third party. Again, it's just a way to get out of a bad situation. And by the way, let's say, for example, I have a car lease and my whole thing is to break the lease is gonna cost me like $3,600, but they're actually willing to buy me out, or I can actually sell a lease for like $2,500 and I can basically be done by paying like $1,000 or whatever. The answer is I would probably do that because I don't want to continue paying that money every single month and then walk away with nothing when I could just use that money to buy me a used vehicle. So sometimes it's not to say that the only reason you would do this if you see a profit in mind. No, sometimes you can actually break even or just lose a little bit of money where suppose you were going to lose a lot more money, okay? So that's also a valid entry to why you would want to do this. Now, number 3 is going to be you can sell your lease directly to the dealer. Sometimes you got a lease, the dealer is going to call you after a while and say, hey, we're willing to buy you out of your lease and give you some money while we're actually doing it. If it doesn't make sense, then obviously you want to do that because basically you'll be done with this whole thing and walk away with some money in your profit. But that's basically usually going to be the last option on the list, because most likely if they're making you that offer is because there's some profit to actually be made, right? Makes sense. Why would they offer you cash for a lease when they have you on an agreement? Because they can actually make a profit off of you, okay, off of this lease. So the idea is I would only do that after I consider, for example, doing it myself by basically paying the fees, paying the residual value for the car, and then selling it in the private market. That's the idea. But you want to run the numbers before you go ahead and do it, obviously, because you don't want to basically do it thinking something and then you walk away like negative, all right? Number two, you can basically go to a third party, which will usually offer you more money than the dealer because the dealer is the in-house option, right? It's like before you trade in a car, you want to try selling it on Facebook and everywhere else because you know the trade-in value is probably going to be the lowest because they're basically buying from you to sell it to somebody else, right? Those things matter. It is a factor. And guys, those are ways to actually make a profit from your lease. But it's usually based on the market, based on the vehicle, and based basically on the supply that's actually available, right? So these are all factors that usually you cannot control. So it's not something that I would actually get into hoping it actually happens. Again, my favorite way to buy a car is to pay cash for the car and not to buy more than half your annual income in car or 10% of your net worth when you have a much higher net worth, okay? So right now, what car do you drive, Tommy? Well, I just sold my Toyota Prius, which was paid off, and now I'm not looking for a car right now because I don't need a car, but when I do buy a car, I will be paying cash for it. All right, thanks for watching, guys. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, comment down below car so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. On top of up here is another video. Over here is my face. Click subscribe, and as always, long-term team officially out.